Where's the
Is it time to be hopeful about higher soybean prices due to news in China and the United States? Jerry Goodell is ready to assess all of that and more right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, we have had some big news this week, and the market has reacted accordingly. Let's start by the news in the United States. I guess you are a lot more familiar because of geography, and so we have had a record crushing reported this week. What's the reason?
yes, the U.S. Excuse me, NOPA, or the National Oil Processors Association, issued a very impressive, uh, well, basically, this is say 200 million bushel crush on this one. That was about 4 million, maybe 4.5 million above expectations. Actually, even 10 million above mine, just because I did not get zeroed in on the fact that a South Dakota crusher was rejoining the NOPA numbers, which helped compensate for this whole issue of the last half of October and now November of the Des Moines cargo plant not being operations. They're still working on getting that plant up to current standards and that. So that was definitely a positive that kind of started the things kind of rolling. Um, on Friday. I'll take that back. It helped add to the excitement of things had on Friday. There was at this point, but that's very impressive number. We're about 22, 23 million ahead of last year's pace uh, on the first 2 months of the September and October of the crush year, and so that definitely helped support things here at this point. That particular number, uh, the other added information, by the way, there's supposed to be a couple more plants coming on board in the next few months here uh, to into the noble ranks, which will also help things go along. And sorry, um, we'll see if how these numbers are going to be, but we're definitely looking like we're switching things over. This has all happened because a couple of years ago there was the uh, indications from the administration that they were going to ramp up their uh, renewable diesel programs, and that California was expanding theirs. The West Coast was talking about it. I think to some extent there really wasn't enough U.S. crushing capacity to meet those needs. So there was a significant increase, and we're going to see that. And hopefully, we can use it all. That sometimes happens. They build something, then it's too soon, and you have to come. It doesn't get as much capacity utilization as we'd like. But anyway, that definitely was a positive there to help. These markets along. Earlier in the week, by the way, we kind of ran out of gas after the USDA's latest update. We had a very uh, dynamic reduction there of 1.4 uh, bushels in the U.S. soybean yield, and that, but the market kind of ran out. It looked for some more enthusiasm, and it didn't really happen. So we had some defensiveness, and also the markets were trying to digest all the U.S. New proposed cabinet members for the Trump administration. Lots of different conflicting ideas about the people he was putting in versus the previous policies and things like that. And so, to some extent, the market was on a defensiveness. Really, Monday through Thursday before we got things kind of turned around here on Friday. We'll see how this goes going forward.
Well, and we also have the news from China about this tax, the end of the tax rebate for used cooking oil, which potentially could mean a lot more demand for soybean oil from outside of China.
Exactly right. I think that was probably the biggest factor that added to and got the market on a turnaround there on Friday was that that news started coming out. Uh, it might have been out Thursday afternoon on some of that, but basically its impact uh, really showed up. They talked about, like you mentioned, reducing or maybe eliminating, I'm not sure which, the rebate that they were offering uh, to the used cooking oil market to ship to the U.S. Maybe it's everywhere, but basically the U.S. was very lucrative because of this issue about uh, veg oils, and particularly bean oil being expensive and that. And so that really could be a big game changer here on in reality. Um, some people say it's not going to be a big enough thing, and there's still going to be a certain amount of veg oil come to the U.S. because it's such a huge market. But in reality, it's something that kind of identified the issues uh, in the fact that it was easier to ship things around the world than it was to utilize products here in the U.S. And that actually, in the last few weeks, we had a big sale of veg oil in the international markets from the U.S., which last year it was kind of a self-discovering of the fact that that was the competition from the used cooking oil was knocking down our utilization of soybean oil to begin with. So, those are that particular factor out there definitely was uh, also helpful, and it'll be watched closely here as to that real impact of that going to change. The interesting twist about it is that with the Chinese dropping their rebate, and that's kind of hurting their shippers over there. But this is all in anticipation of the fact that the Trump administration is going to be quite tough, and they've really stated that they are going to increase the import tariffs on Chinese goods across the board. I think actually it's talking about some areas being up at 60% or more, and in the in, oh, and a general increase of 10% on all goods from China. And so they decided to drop this rebate as a gesture of being nasty to us about importing their used cooking oil. They also did it for aluminums and a couple other things. So it's just the first salvo, it looks like, in this whole trade war. I kind of felt that kind of news would probably still not start happening until January. So this is an earlier than expected uh, foray into the trade war potential between the U.S. and China.
Now, at this point, do you think this rally could last longer, and what price can be reached, at least for soy?
Well, I think that it definitely puts the Chinese trade war concepts right in front of us here. How long is it going to last? This is a tricky time of year here. I kind of feel like there still has been a possibility of some urgency for purchases and shipments and that ahead of our unofficial close of the Mississippi here. Where the major transportation in the U.S. is on around early December, and so that usually has a uh, weakening effect, if you will, on our sales and things of that nature. And then we run into the holidays at the end of the year. It's a tricky world right now as to how sustained this thing could be, but I think there is a chance to be back to the recent highs on January beans and December corn. But the potential, I think, really is going to be above those levels, going to be what happens in South America. and that I kind of feel like that the there's still long seasons down there in front of us, so I gotta feel like that there's going to be some uncertainty. Now, the biggest thing in this thing is that last time around in this environment of U.S. and Chinese uh, conflicts, the U.S. producer was compensated with uh, on sales that were lost. I have no idea where that's at, what's going on there. Uh, all this situation, unfortunately, shouldn't be really going on, but
Well, but in
that's
South
not the way.
America, there has not been that major surface increases that we had in previous years. And if anything goes wrong with the weather in one of the Brazilian major producing states, then that will be good for the market.
Oh, definitely. As I said kind of earlier, and you good point now is the fact that uh, we started out late. I know people say, "Oh, well, we can make it up," and all this kind of stuff, and all along. But we really need to have a picture perfect South American crop to and conditions down there for the big numbers that people are throwing around. This 170 and Brazilian beans and corn being in the high 120s and things like that. Uh, I know that that hasn't been the case so far. Argentina, similar situation there. Right now, they haven't planted the first crop corn down there, so exactly right. The scenarios on uh, South American output is still wide open at this point as to what really comes along, and that will be important factors. That really probably comes into the front here as we get into late December and early into going into the new year. That's when things are moving along. Particularly in the past here, by the way, there has been uh, some. Harvesting of beans in Mato Grosso so they could plant their safrinha corn uh, from there. And that is an interesting situation for them because if you're thinking about it here, we just really kind of got rolling on planting the safrinha, or excuse me, the soybeans here in October. So you're talking about, let's just say the middle of October, middle of November, December, January. It's just 3 months to get the bean crop matured and actually harvested to have corn going in mid-January. So it's going to be a very, very tight schedule there to get safrinha corn planted in its primary good, best situation there in mid-January. So that's another thing the market will be watching closely here as we look at things going forward, I guess.
All right, anything would you like to add to monitor next week?
Well, not as many uh, commentary floating around. We won't have any updates from like we did here on the NOPA number, which was probably the biggest surprise, I think, at least to me, out there this time around. And of course, the trade issues will be watched closely here. As I said, the stability right now and maybe some more uh, I hopefully we don't need more trade time, tit for tat stuff. I thought that most of that would be later in the year here as to what's going to be impacted, what's going to happen. Because in reality here, the Trump administration is not going to be in office until January 20th. So we still got at this point 2 more months before officially things like uh, and government policies and that will be in effect. But definitely scenarios here between weather in South America and U.S. political news will probably help provide us some stability here, and as we go forward here, the rest of this year.
Thank you very much.
Take care.